I, 58, will always be a mother to my twin sons, Thomas and Sam. In the summer after they graduated, when they were 18, Thomas passed away. I can't begin to explain how broken I was. At that point, Sam had already accepted an offer to go to an Ivy League school. My husband and I had about $100K each saved up for the boys, but Sam's school was so expensive that the money wouldn't cover it. Before Thomas passed, Sam was fine with taking out student loans to cover the rest. Then we lost Thomas. Less than 2 months after it happened, Sam asked if he could have the $100K that was set aside for Thomas. I lost it on him. I told him that it was Thomas's money and not his, and it deserved to go to Thomas. This is where I might have been the idiot, because Sam could have used that money. But he didn't get a cent of it. To be fair, my husband and I didn't get a cent of it either. We donated it all to various charities against drunk driving in memory of Thomas. That was all about 10 years ago. Sam took out student loans, but he's so young and already a very successful lawyer. I believe he's paid most of the loans off by now, possibly all. If it matters at all, my husband and I contributed a significant amount, about $50K, to his law school tuition as well. I thought we were past it, but the other day, Sam brought up how unfair it was for me to refuse to give him Thomas's money. We had a tearful argument over it, and now I just don't know what to think. If I could do it again, I still don't think I would give that money to Sam. Does that make me an idiot? Edit. We had 2 separate college accounts for the boys. Each account had $100K in it. After Thomas passed, Sam still got the $100K he always knew he'd get. He just didn't get the additional $100K from Thomas's account. We never took money away from Sam. We just didn't give him any extra money that he wouldn't have had if Thomas had been alive. You're the idiot. Look, I get wanting to donate it to different charities. There's nothing wrong with that. But you should not have lashed out at your son like that. Your wording is horrible. You could have said, we want to donate it in Thomas's name to people who have suffered like he had at the hands of drunk drivers, and that would have been okay. Your son wasn't an idiot asking for the money and you were not an idiot for denying him. But the way you did it was awful. You should sit him down and apologize for the way you reacted back then. You did not need to lose it on him like that. You're the idiot. I understand you were grieving, but you lashing out at your son was out of line. Also, unless your boys hated each other, I would imagine your deceased son would have wanted you to help his brother. He's a lawyer now, but the money would have probably helped. I don't know your financial situation, but having the money to pay for your son's education and not doing so and giving it away sounds entirely alien to me. Frankly, these all sound like rich people problems and you might not be in the right place to get a good answer. 99% of the people on here could not imagine giving $100K to charity over family. Not the idiot. You gave your surviving son the $100K you saved for him, as well as an additional $50K for grad school. That's enormously generous. You used the $100K you saved for your deceased son in his honor to remember and celebrate his life. While your response to Sam's ask was a bit harsh, it's certainly a forgivable moment due to grief, not worthy of an idiot label. Sam is not the idiot for asking, but I am shocked 10 years later he holds resentment and feels he was entitled to that money. It was never his money or intended for him. It was your hard-earned savings to do with whatever you wanted, and it was the last gift you were able to give to Thomas and create a legacy for him. I'm 18. Sister is 26 and brother-in-law, 28. So, I, 18, moved to Una last week. My sister and brother-in-law live in the same city so offered to take me out on a welcome lunch. I agreed. They live too far for me to walk, and I'm not accustomed to the city yet, so the plan was for sister to pick me up and brother-in-law drives me home. I had a lecture at 4 p.m, and they knew that. I told brother-in-law that I didn't want to leave any later than 3:45. He said that's cool. At 3:30, I began to put my shoes on and get ready to leave. He got snarky and told me to calm down and that he needed to finish his coffee. 3:45 rolls around and he's still not ready. At any sign of stress or annoyance, brother-in-law would mark some snarky comment about how I need a drink or to relax. Sister can't take me because she's in a work meeting. At 3:50 we leave. I tell brother-in-law to drop me off at the front of the university because that's where my building is. Instead, he decides to take me down the main street and show me all the shops and cafes. I'm getting super annoyed at this point and ask him to just drive me to the main entrance, and he can show me another day, but he won't. He continues talking and driving until 400 hits. At this point, I've had enough and I tell brother-in-law to drive me to the me, but he still won't, so I open the door and get out. I begin to walk to the unit and he pulls up beside me in his car apologizing and telling me he was just trying to be nice. This is where I'm apparently a major idiot. I told brother-in-law that he intentionally ignored me every step of the way. I told him he's a sad person for doing that and I won't be talking to him again until he apologizes properly. He got mad and drove off. It was a 15-minute walk, plus another 10, because I had no idea where I was and I ended up missing the lecture. I emailed my prof and he said it was totally fine, so I'm not in trouble or anything. My sister called me and chewed me out. She said brother-in-law was just trying to help. I said that he actually set me up by leaving super late and then messing around. I said I would like an apology from him. Now they both think I'm a major idiot for blowing up at brother-in-law. Not the idiot, and what the hell is wrong with them? You had something you needed to be present for at 4 p.m, which means the latest you should have been dropped off was 3:55, directly in front. It was not the time for a tour. You'll have to make your own arrangements from now on, since you clearly can't trust either of them. How do they think it's okay that he made you late? He was not just trying to help, he was doing whatever the hell he wanted to do over your multiple protests. This is complete bullcrap. Make sure in future that you don't agree to any activities with them on a lecture day, because your commitments apparently mean nothing to them. Creep vibes here. I cannot list all the things that creep me out, but stay away from that dude, even if he apologizes. Good news is he probably won't, so you don't have to be around him anymore. It will be difficult to explain to your sister that her hubby is a creep, but I would just flat out say it. He was creepy, didn't respect your boundaries or time, made you late and would not listen to you, to the point I had to escape or get out of the car and walk. If this had been anyone else she would agree. Let her know you want a relationship with her and are always up to grab lunch, girl time. Not the idiot. And from now on, never trust your sister or creep-in-law to take you anywhere. Never put yourself in a position whether you have to depend on the creep to get you where you need to go or get in a car alone with him. At the best he was deliberately screwing with you as a power play. At the worst he was planning to creep on you. Focus on school, make a lot of friends you can go to if you need a ride and avoid the creep and his enabling wife. I'm currently 8 months pregnant. My husband died from COVID about a month ago and I've been absolutely ragged since, and this is kin to my breaking point. Prior to my husband's, Mike, death, we had agreed on Tom, Alexander, Jones, all names are fake obviously, as our son's name. Tom, we decided on together, Alexander after my husband's grandfather and Jones is my last name. My husband took my last name after marriage by choice, as he didn't have the best upbringing and was limited contact with his parents. After he died I made the decision to add Michael to our son's name, so it is Tom, Michael, Alexander, Jones. This has been a problem with my mother-in-law who is insisting his first name should be Mike. I have refused for several reasons. 1. The real Mike name is extremely common. 2. It has an unfortunate nickname that got my husband bullied at school. 3. I don't want to feel sad every time I say my son's name. My mother-in-law has flipped her crap over this. Despite my saying no, she has proceeded to get a brass nameplate for his crib, multiple blankets and onesies, and the letter hanging name all with Michael instead of Tom. This came to a head last weekend when she bought over more Michael blankets and I was having phantom contractions. She told me to toughen up and then said that even if I give my son the first name Tom, she will call him Mike in private. Honestly, I was a bit the idiot. I was in pain and hadn't slept properly in days. I snapped and told her to get out of my house and that if she was going to call my son Mike in private, then I wouldn't allow her to visit him or be around him without supervision. She now hysterically calling everyone in the family accusing me of being an idiot who won't let her see her only grandbaby. She actually has a couple of adopted grandchildren from my sister-in-law, but they don't count as real grandkids to her. I feel like trash. Maybe I should change the name just to keep the peace. Am I just being a hormonal idiot? Am I the idiot here? Not the idiot. You gave her your reasons and she needs to back off. This is your child and you get to decide the name. Your husband didn't want his son named after him. And now that your husband has passed, you think it would be difficult to be around that name all the time. That is fair. Your husband also had limited contact with his family for a reason. Stop accepting anything that your mother-in-law gives you. Tell her bluntly that's not his name and set firm boundaries because she is going to try to walk all over you. And the fact that she doesn't think that her adopted grandchildren are real grandchildren says so much about her. Look after yourself and your baby first. You've picked a wonderful name for him. I'm so sorry for your loss. Holy crap. Your mother-in-law sounds nuts and like a giant idiot. Adopted grandkids aren't her grandkids. Clearly your husband was right to go limited contact with them. You're all still grieving here. I think your reaction was a tiny bit over the top, but just a little bit. Cutting all unsupervised contact is a little strong. She's determined to disrespect your wishes, though, so why would you want someone like that around your baby? You're definitely not the idiot though. Your mother-in-law is. Name and call your baby what you want to name and call your baby. I hope the birth goes well, OP. Not the idiot. This is your kid, not your mother-in-law's. She either respects your boundaries and back off, or doesn't get to be part of her grandchild's life. From what you wrote, the latter might be a good thing given your late husband keeping his parents at a distance. Actually, get in touch with a close friend who can be your emotional support through this time, even if over the phone, and if mother-in-law continues to harass you, cut contact until baby is born. You don't need this negative attention while at your final stages of pregnancy. For a while on and off I provided childcare for my brother with my nephews ages 10 and 8. He got married 18 months ago and now has 3 stepchildren ages 11, 9 and 7. My brother and his wife, in an attempt to make a whole family unit, have banned the word step from their house. The kids are just brothers and sisters, they are just parents, though they can use their step-parents' first name when talking to them directly. But they are not to say step-sibling, step-parent, etc. This is something they want a babysitter or caregiver of any kind to follow up on. So, when my brother asked if I could have all 5 kids for a few hours after school occasionally, I told him no, because I was not willing to follow that rule. The kids all refuse to drop a step except the 7 and 9-year-olds, and what has happened is the kids are angry and fight back over being called siblings. They fight each other and then they get punished and they are caught in the cycle. They have gone through about a dozen family therapists. My nephews have asked to go live with my parents on 5 different occasions. They lost their mom 9 months ago. And I just do not want to get stuck in that minefield. My brother said, I always respected their rules before, so why not this one? I told him none of his rules were met with such resistance before, and enforcing that would require a lot more from me than any of his other rules. He already knows me, and the rest of our family think he and his wife are handling it wrong, so I didn't push that. But I did let him know it was not work I am willing to put in. His wife said none of their rules are hard to enforce, so why I feel the way I do is strange to her, and the kids are all awesome, etc. They both think I'm an idiot for saying no to what worked before, although let's face it, we are increasing the number of kids by 3, so that's a big undertaking in itself. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. It's a ridiculous rule, and the fact the kids lost their mother and are now not allowed to refer to their stepmother as a stepmother is only going to create more animosity. I'm curious though why you would have to enforce that with them while they're with you. You can call them by their names. You wouldn't say, go get your sister. But go get Gracie. Instead. If that makes any sense. I feel like you could just completely ignore that and pretend you didn't hear it if you hear it from them. All that being said, going from watching 2 to 5 kids is a big ask in itself. Even if others have talked to them about going about it wrong, be honest about it with them again. Tell them it's not about lack of love or like for any of the kids, but you can't enforce a rule you disagree with. If they need proof, forcing them to do that is not going to work. Tell them to look around on here, endless posts of upset step-siblings who have horrible relationships with all involved due to being forced. They think I'm an idiot for saying no to what worked before. They're wrong, this situation hasn't worked before because it hasn't happened before. There's a big difference between caring for 2 kids and caring for 5 kids. They're acting stupid if they can't see how the number of kids changes things, or they just want to have the house free of kids for a few hours. And that's without stirring the pot by trying to make them act like they're closer than they actually are. My 46 daughter, 16, is a high school junior. I noticed recently that she's been behaving in a bad manner, constantly commenting on other people's looks, belongings, calling them stuff that isn't cool and just being insensitive. It's like she lost a filter or something because usually she's polite, but my wife suspected that our daughter's sudden misbehavior occurred after she started hanging out with new girls from the school. Basically the mean type and have picked on their behavior. I've sat with my daughter and had many discussions about how her behavior has been negatively affecting everyone around her. Our housemate is the person most affected here, and my daughter has chosen her to be her target for hair, clothes, etiquette criticism. She has complained about our daughter calling her offensive names like filthy and gross for cleaning certain areas in our house. I took a stand and explicitly told my daughter I'd punish her if she ever said stuff like that to our housemate again. Last week my daughter had a party to go to. Earlier that day she called our housemate filthy, so I grounded her by not letting her go to the party. She threw a fit and called our housemate a liar, saying she never called her that. That was the end of it. Days later my daughter came to me saying she couldn't find her iPhone after looking everywhere. She asked me to call her number and I did. My wife and I were stunned to discover that the iPhone was ringing inside our housemate's bag. I had a confrontation with her immediately, and she denied and cried, saying she never touched the phone, nor had any idea how it got there. I noticed my daughter calling her thief repeatedly, so I told her to stop and go to her room. I checked the indoor camera before continuing the argument and saw my daughter place her iPhone inside our housemate's bag. I was livid. I apologized to the housemaid and gave her the rest of the day off. I then showed the video to my daughter and she was absolutely speechless. I said, what she did was immoral and straight up offensive to tamper with that poor woman's livelihood over a petty party she couldn't go to. I told her she was grounded and will have to spend the night in the backyard. She is a germaphobe, but she cried begging me to not make her sleep with the dirt, insects and hot temp. I refused to discuss it or I'd make it 2 nights. My wife said I should go easy on her, but I said calling people filthy and accusing them of stealing wasn't okay, in fact it was the absolute worst. I then went through with my punishment. Not the idiot. She has to learn, being so cruel has consequences. She could have lost the housekeeper her job, or even have gotten her arrested if you hadn't found the video and pressed charges. Don't go easy on her. That teaches her nothing. Give the housekeeper a week off and make your daughter clean. She can learn what it's like with no housekeeper. Everyone's the idiot here. Your daughter deserves to be severely punished. What she did is completely unacceptable and there should be serious consequences. But this is a really inappropriate way to punish her. Especially since your wife disagreed and you overruled her. What gives you the right to make this choice without her and kicked your daughter out? This is abusive behavior. You're not going to teach your daughter not to be an idiot by being an idiot to her. Dude, you need to actually discipline your daughter, not send her camping in the backyard. Take away her electronics and don't buy her any more designer clothes. Give her a crappy flip phone instead of an iPhone. Make her get a job and stop giving her an allowance. Make her clean her own room and do her own laundry or something. Resorting to removing the roof over her head is ridiculously stupid and also might qualify as child abuse. Everyone's the idiot here. Except for that poor housekeeper.